morning, everyone. Welcome to Two
Good
Pieces
morning. Good
Podcast.
morning.
It's a Monday. So again, apologize for the slight delay. As I mentioned before, on every 2 weeks on Monday mornings, my doctor calls at exactly 8 o'clock to do a little quick check-in. So that is that on that. How's everybody weekend? I hope everybody had a great weekend.
I had a great weekend. My Eagles won and the Cowboys lost. It's a great weekend.
Good morning, Kai. Good morning, Eric. Good morning, bro. Who beat my bro in here? Kai. Hey, Keys family. Hey, Christina. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Hey, Maki. Hey, Ray. Good morning, Ray Blade.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Thomas. So today, Dre, you're gonna kick off this one. We're gonna be talking about racks and a different, just talking about it in general. But I think the biggest thing is that we still have this. A lot of people still have this big disagreement. Is there ever a time that you should ever keep a snake in a rack? I shared my opinions on that prior. I think there's certain animals who should never see a rack. But I will let Dre start, and I will just share in my particular experience coming from feeling one way to another. So, but Dre, go ahead, kick it.
Yeah. So racks. I'm gonna start off by saying it's always a right way and a wrong way to do things. I think when it comes to racks, just like a lot of the reptiles we keep, they come with a stigma. And a lot of it is opinionated, and
Some of it's true. Danny.
that's why I said a lot of it. I didn't say all of it. Don't tell me to kick it, and then you're gonna kick me while I'm kicking it. You know
I'm sorry. Go ahead, kick it.
you gonna have your turn. You gonna have your turn. Now I'm gonna start off by saying I'm in agreement with Nicole. Retics and racks. I know we're gonna go straight there, but
I'm gonna put my ADHD on to focus on something else. Go,
if that's possible. I see the light. I see your light in your forehead. But no, when it comes to racks though, y'all know I got 2 racks, and that's where majority of my snakes are kept. But it's not. I try to let people know like I'm actually in the process of upgrades now, so eventually I won't have any racks. But racks should never be any snake. I don't care how small it is. It shouldn't ever be their forever home. And I mean I think that's the basic the basic point for me. It shouldn't be their forever home, and there's certain things you got to do so the snake can benefit from the rack. Now, I'm not talking from a breeder standpoint because we all know what a breeder standpoint looks like. It's sterile for for right reasons. But me personally, I'm a keeper, so I try to still incorporate enrichment in my racks. And again, I pull out my snakes a lot, but ultimately I want to make sure that my snakes are comfortable. And then also, what are you using the racks for? If you're just using them to house your snakes and that's it, I personally use racks to help me establish my snakes, help me, get the snakes on a certain schedule or help them with shedding or establishing, a feeding schedule or whatever the case may be. So now, Nicole, you can go ahead and kick your half.
No, so for me, I just think it's not, it's a silly argument. So I believe with every animal. So let me go back. I do not believe pet animals and a lot of breeds of reptiles should ever see a rat. I don't even know if I'm a big fan of, and this is a personal, opinion of rats being in opaque rag systems. I believe that until the moment that rat is fed, that it should have as much of a rat life as we can provide in captivity. And so they should have it like enrichment, and they should have things to play with, and things that keep them in the community within the rack. With rats particular, I believe they should have all of that up until the morning that you decide this is the day that they're going to be fed. I will say that I was, as a ball pythons being, of course, my first animal that I had passion for. I never felt ball pythons should be in a rack system. Of course, with the exception of brand new ball python babies, because I believe that, most of them, because I see some who, like to be outside even as babies out of a rack system. But I think that, like, for my ball pythons who were not raised up in a rack system, they will never see a rack system except for the occasions when they're breeding. I see ball pythons use a whole 4x2x2. I see them, up on trees. I see them doing some things that you would think ball pythons don't do, at night. Like I said, I'm watching them on camera. Like, they're very active snakes when they want to be. Not all of them, though. So one of the beauty of having a breeding ball pythons, even in your rack systems, like for the people who breed, you go to your rack sometimes, there's ball pythons that once you let them out, don't want to go back in. They literally kind of cling onto you. And others, when you're putting them back, they're like, all right, here's that hole again. Let me go back to the hole. I think each snake has an individual personality. And I think it goes back to reading the snake in any scenario. So let's say if, like, y'all know, don't put a retic in a rack ever. But let's say if you have a retic in a rack and your plan is to grow that retic up to a certain size, or you're getting this enclosure built or whatever, and temporarily you're housing them in a rack. If that reticulated python is not like striking out that rack every single time that you go in there, and if that reticulated python actually is using a hide that you definitely need to put that in there. If you want to be putting the one in there for more purposes of climbing than anything, than hiding. And if he's not being overly defensive, then you might be fine with that particular reticulated python. I just never seen that with a reticulated python. Typically, if someone's keeping it in a rack system, that retic is going to have a very strong food response, almost uncontrollable, or a very defensive response, almost uncontrollable. Because every time the retics like to see you coming. They don't like to just go from, like, even in there when you do have them in visual enclosures. You want to wake them up before you start pushing and touching or running around in there. You want to make sure that they are alert enough to know that the eyeballs have now fixated on you to say, okay, this is what's about to happen. Even if they don't move, you want them eyeballs to be fixated on you. But if you're putting ball pythons in a rack system, I would say, with the experience that I have experienced from the breeding side now, 75% of ball pythons will prefer a rack system. But however, where one of the arguments come in, it's like it shouldn't be an argument, because there is the 25% that I've personally seen who are very active, even if they are currently in a rack. If you take them out right now, they want to climb, they want to move, they want to just, that's that particular ball python. There's others that's sitting there just like this, waiting for that moment for you to put them right back where they came from, and that's it. So to me, it's just like a silly argument. It kind of goes to, is a 8x2x2 big enough for a large snake, or is it 10x4x4 what they need? It all depends on the snakes. There are some snakes who may not want to be an 8x2x2, even if they are 10 feet or if they're 12 feet, for whatever reason. There are other snakes who will use every inch of the space that you give them, and you just got to pay attention to that, to that snake or lizard or whatever it is. So that's my overall on it.
Yeah, and you made an interesting point, because my cow retic is currently in my smaller rack right now, and that's perfectly fine. But again, she's one of out of the upgrades that I'm working on, she's one of the first snakes that's going to be getting moved. So her, the berm, the anaconda, and my motley are all focused right now for getting moved out of the rack, simply because, like I said, I'm phasing out, but the snakes that I just named all grow the fastest, or they're already big. So she's not reactive. She eats. She does use her hide. She doesn't cruise around. She'll soak in her water bowl. She's got a big. I use the big plastic dog water bowls from the dollar store, and she's super. She is probably the nicest retic I've ever seen, and it's kind of creepy, honestly.
They all that way. It was just where the other ones came from.
Right. Anyway, she almost has like a kind of like a berm temperament. It's crazy. But dope snake though. But like I said, I agree. Now I will say, as far as pet keeping, I'm not totally against it. Again, as long as it's not permanent. And what snake are you keeping in there? Because
Right.
again, I've seen situations where some people have these snakes in the rack, and the snake is a little snug in there. And then they'll try to upgrade them, and the snake just completely does not function in that bigger enclosure. So I think with racks, it's gonna come to a point where we have to choose what is the animal benefiting from. And that's where you got to start looking at your animal and seeing how they're reacting to whatever situation that they're in. And maybe if you upgrade them to this bigger enclosure and they don't do as well as they were doing in the rack, cool, put them back in the rack momentarily, but go back into that bigger setup and see if something was off. See if there was maybe something that may have stressed the animal out in there. Check your temps and everything like that, because I mean, if the animal ultimately, especially when dealing with captive animals, they are going to let you know what they prefer, and you just got to pay attention to it. Honestly, I've never seen any retic that's ever wanted to stay in a very small, confined place anyway. But I've seen it with blood pythons. I've seen it with ball pythons where they just don't do as well in these more open environments as they would do in Iraq. So I think that's where a lot of people just get mad. You see comments on Instagram, people, oh my gosh, it's animal abuse. And just like, look, at the end of the day, they're captive animals. And just like we talked about with bioactive, a lot of the stuff that we do or choose for the animal is for our own need. We have to make sure we're looking at what the animal is going to benefit from. And that should be the end all. It doesn't matter what we want or what look we're trying to achieve. If the animal isn't doing well in that so-called that particular setup, then we need to do something to change it.
Yeah, and I think being able to identify that is going to going to make a difference in how much you engage with your animals. And I think that even for breeding, you have to be able to be in tune with how that particular animal is reacting to you. Like, so that ball python that clearly gets excited to just kind of hold on to you, or that ball python who like want to explore, or climbing up higher on you and things like that, is the ball python that maybe you take out just a little longer, even though it's a breeder, to let them get that enrichment. There are some that as soon as you take them out the enclosure, you get that activity from them. And then the ones who don't care, you manage them on that less of a time frame, change the water, spy clean, whatever you're doing, and put them back, but those other ones, I think it's important for us to pay attention to the individual animal, even in those cases. I can tell you that going to, like, when we talk about reticulated pythons specifically, or berms, I would say they never should be in a rack, but I'm not against them as babies growing up in a tub. I think they do really, really well as long as that tub has height, and you can still have branches in there, and you can still have enclosures and things like that in there. I think that even, like I said, up until probably about almost a year old for most of them. Now, I will tell you that most of the mainlands, by a year, they already 10 feet plus. So like them being in a enclosure like that, unless it's really, really big, it's going to be very temporary anyway. But when you're getting them as babies, I can tell you that they're okay. Like about 7 months, mine are going into 8-footers. But I will tell you that they will be fine up until, depending on the size. The size, it can't be a small enclosure, but one that they can still kind of move the length of their body and climb up and things like that. They're fine as long as you make sure that there's no escape route for them. Retics are smart. when it comes to stuff like that. And berms are smart when it comes to stuff like that, and they know their strength. They know their strength better than you do. Like if you ever want to see how strong a larger snake think they are, watch them at night. Like it's hilarious. Like it's absolutely insane when they go from she didn't know or he didn't know I can do this. You know what I mean? To, you know, let me do this. Like I was telling somebody the other day, they were saying that they had the plexiglasses on their retake enclosures. They work to a certain point. Once that snake get about 12, 14 feet and they realize that it's 12 or 14 feet, that snake knows that it can make that plexiglass give. And all it needs is a small space to flex under, to lift there, to use their strength and expand to get out of it. Even with glass, that's why I said you have to have 3/4 inch glass or higher with larger snakes, because they can smash those those smaller glasses. They can do a 1/4 inch glass is nothing to a retake, and they know it, or to a big berm. They know it. So again, do you need that initially? No. Like, so if you're on a budget and initially you get the 8-footer with a 1/2 inch glass, then you're fine. Just know that at some point you got to pay attention to that snake at night, or when he thinks no one or she thinks no one's looking, and watch when that snake start to see if it can lift stuff off track and push stuff off track. It's crazy.
That's funny to watch. And not even just with berms and retics, you know, even some of the, you know, boas. And that's kind of where you see that snake intelligence comes out, because the simple fact that they even get the idea, like, I'm gonna try to get out of here. And you watch them and they'll literally just kind of go and nudge and try to find a weak spot. It's crazy. So, update on Kato. I finally figured exactly how he got out of his cage. I thought he broke through the plexiglass. No. It's an older cage. He's been in there for the last year or so. The side that was taped up, I finally took the tape off and opened the door. I opened the door. The cage was busted at the seam. It was like a hole like this big. And that's how he got out. So basically, once he busted that hole, he just fell to the floor.
Yeah.
Jesus. So
and once they figure something out, they will try it over and over and over again.
Yeah, especially if you try to repair it, they're going to remember, because they're going to go right back to that spot and keep trying. And again, we talking berms, retics, and, you know, boas. My blood is only like 5 foot.
I would be surprised if I haven't seen it because my carpet is so young, but I would be curious to see if carpets are very curious like that.
They are. I wouldn't be super worried about a carpet simply because they're not as heavy bodied.
Right.
Carpets just want to be on the move. They want to go, but if there's a hole they can fit through, they out. They're gone. Whereas, you know, the big snakes, berms, retics, African rocks, even anacondas. I've noticed. I've been observing J-Lo a little bit more, and now that she's comfortable, she's cruising around and looking for things to do. And again, we're talking big snakes. Kato's only 5 foot, so just imagine what a 10 to 12 foot snake would do. At 5 foot, Kato was able to bust the seams of a 4 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot. So just imagine and even I don't care how well built this enclosure is, if that snake finds no, wait till DJ Nicole get the volume under control. But
right, there we go.
no matter how well built your enclosure is, that snake is going to expose and find a weakness. And I'll be honest with you, if you want to find out how well structured or well engineered your cage is, put a retic or a berm in it. You can spend all the money in the world. They will find the weakness for you because they're in it and they see things from the inside. So I know one thing that, you know, I'm not doing with these bigger cages is I'm not using plastic. I'm not like a lot of cages that I see some people put their snakes in, the actual hinges are plastic. So over time, I don't care how over time it's not going to be as strong. So if it's not an actual metal hinge or sliding glass, I don't want it. Because I don't want to walk into a 10 to 12 foot snake just chilling. That's not going to work. It's
And
not gonna work.
that's exactly, what happens. And it happens when they know that they got time. So two
Too much
comments I
time.
wanted to go back to. Maki, I said the same thing this morning. I said, how in the world did we end up on different sides? So it was an adjustment for both of us too. We'll figure it out the next time. We don't be having that kind of time in the morning, like, let's go. And then Ray. So Ray said he's almost completed his rat rack. So Ray, Ray has now got the task of doing the rat rack video. We're going to retire Keisha from the assignment, and Ray gets to do that rat rack video. It's now Ray's job, because that's amazing. Ray has built, first of all, anybody who does rats and ASFs or mice or whatever you do. For me, it's rats and ASFs. I only have 6 bins, and that's enough for me. Ray built a whole hotel for rats in less than a week, it seemed like.
Listen. First off, kudos to anybody that's breeding rats, keeping rats, or doing anything with rats. I ain't doing it. So big shout out to y'all.
I used to say the same thing, and then I'm telling you, it was Keisha. Keisha did like a video, one of their very first videos, and then when I started talking to them more, and like to see how what she thought about it, that was pretty cool. That just jumped up on its own, but I'll fix it. And then so Keisha actually like hit me onto it. And so when my husband helped me build the first rig, because I didn't do that by myself.
Did he help you, or did he do it and you sat there and watched?
I actually did a lot for when it comes to the rat rag. Like after he showed me how to do the first 2, I think I did the last 3. The only thing I didn't do was like tower it together, but I did all of like the individual baskets and stuff. I want my kudos for that, because that wasn't
respect.
But I would say it's not for me, because I only have 6. I think if I had more than 6, it would be a lot, because that's a lot of cleaning. But it's so much fun. It's so cool. There is a part of me who want to do 6 more. But I'm going to do it kind of gradually. Like I'll probably add another one and another one and another one, because as of course, my snakes are getting older. The production is going up. I still choose my frozen thawed. But it gives me a nice balance of not having to spend a lot of money. Because all of my live pretty much are producing.
I want to go to this. You got another comment you want to go to? I want to jump to this one real quick.
Go ahead.
So Lucas landed.
Oh, you figured it out.
Your feeling, well, that's because I'm logged in today. Hush. Your feeling towards rats is similar to some people that don't like snakes. I disagree. The reason I feel the way I feel about rats is because I've actually worked with them for some years when I worked in a pet store. And it's not that I dislike them. I just don't want to breed them. So that's just personal preference. It has nothing to do with how I feel about them. I just don't feel the need that I need to breed them, no matter how many snakes that I have. But luckily, all of my snakes eat frozen, so it's not a problem. But like I said, kudos to anybody that's breeding rats. That's a whole new job within itself. I'm not ready for that.
I used to say the same thing. I said never. Ever. But I will tell you, it is an amazing feeling. First of all, to experience birth every day, pretty much, at one level. To see how animals take care. I know this might be deeper than people who actually look. We're breeding them to feed, but I pay attention to how they
prostitution,
colonize, the process of like how they treat their children. How the males can be a little bit more like they're normally the first to come up to kind of, that's how I know babies are inside. When the boys come rushing to the front, I know it's babies somewhere. Like,
don't they eat their babies
in the bed? I've never had that experience. I think that if you don't have the proper nutrition or water, that's when it happens. I've never even had it with my ASFs. Like my ASFs,
I've seen some pretty gruesome scenes.
Yeah, I know back in the day I've seen it with a hamster, but I think it was the same thing where it just didn't have the water it was supposed to have, and it ate its counterpart because of that. But I've never seen it with any of my rats. I have seen where I do believe that maybe they had a baby that wasn't fertile, and that they may have removed that one, but. That's with the actual rats. I've never seen that with like the ASFs yet. Even then that's just an assumption because like I can see typically where they leave like remnants of what the sacks or whatever was, so it could be just them that it didn't eat all the sack. So I don't know, but I never had no. My rats are, and honestly, rats are not as dirty as I thought they. If you clean them, I guess you know what I mean. When a cycle,
Yeah,
it's not.
I mean, they clean themselves. I think a lot of people
Yeah,
just don't clean them properly, and especially when you're keeping multiple rats in one bin and they only have so much room, it's going to get messy quick. But and to that point, how many, since we're talking racks, and we talked about snakes, but kind of converting over to rat racks. How many rats per tub would you say is good and what's too many? And I know it's going to depend on the size of the tub and the size of the rats and everything like that, but what would you say? Because I see
like
some stuff online and I'm just like, that can't be sanitary. Like, it's literally like so many rats in a rack that they can't
it
lose
depends
like
on what kind of rat it is too. Because sometimes online, what you may see is like a new colony of babies that are not weaned off yet or something like that. For me, adult rats, my colonies for breeding is normally one male to three or four females, depending on what it is. Like I like having two males to four feed 4 or 5 females for my ASFs. So that's all depending on the person. Now, once babies are actually born, the moment that they start to open their eyes, I either put them in another rack or they're being fed off or, at that particular point. Or I'll put them in another rack with animals that's like closer to their size, like probably just like a little bit bigger than them. And then in that colony, when you just have a bunch of young rats, it's fine because the poop and the pee is not as much, and they're
right,
normally the
right,
ones
right.
that you're feeding off. But for like actually breeding, I don't. Most people don't have a lot in their breeding rack because it's just that once you might see sometimes a picture where they produce and those animals are not weaned off yet. And at the end of the day, it's something else. Listen to the animals. There's sometimes that I might have a rack in it, and let's say for what, because sometimes I rotate out my females too.
Okay.
So let's say if I got 2 females in or 3 females in a rack, they may not be as dirty as it is for whatever reason when they got the male with them or a couple pups with them. It all depends.
Makes
At the
sense,
end of
makes
the day,
sense.
it's going to come to how much you want to clean, but I would say that I love to see great big rat facilities. I do. I think that's amazing. But it takes a lot of work. That's when you definitely have to have employees.
Yeah,
Hey, Kim.
that's how my rat guy is. He has an entire barn, with well over, 10 to 15,000 rats. And man,
So, and I think that the other part of the argument is you talk about the enrichment. That is all depends on the animal as well. For some ball pythons, enrichment is let me sit here in this hole all day and I'll come out for water. That's the most enrichment that I have. So that's going to all depends on again the animal. Every animal doesn't need enrichment. And even with like the bigger animals, I have one berm who chills most of the time. I have another berm who I take out as much as I take out the retakes because she's just that active. So knowing that, I take her out way more than I do the one who particularly just kind of chills. It all depends. It's
and
no animal who is the same, just like there's no human.
and again, exactly. That's going back to knowing your animal and understanding what they're benefiting from. Because people are quick to throw that term around. Oh, you don't have substrate. That snake has no enrichment. Okay, like they don't get enrichment from other things, but again, that's why I don't really get into a lot of the online debates because even if I see something that I don't necessarily agree with, if I don't know the reason behind why that person is doing it, like now don't get me wrong. If it's something that's not harmful to the animal, you know what I'm saying? Like, because I do know a lot of just people. I do know a lot of people who keep even their pet snakes in sterile environments. Um, but again, if I don't know
Yeah.
the reason behind that, that's not something that I can speak on. Huh?
No, I was saying good morning to Emilio.
Oh,
Go
good
ahead.
morning, Emilio. But if that's not something that you know, I don't know the reason behind. That's not something I can speak on. And also, not everything is meant to be spoken on. As long as me personally, I'm to the point now. The animal looks fine to me. The animal is in great care. I'm not about to argue with people about what they got going on. Everybody's process is different. And I really just wish people would just respect that not everybody's going to do things the same. Again, we're
As
talking
long as the
this
animal is not getting sick or dying.
not getting sick, not dying, shedding properly, eating good. And you can literally look at an animal like, dang, that animal looks like it's well cared for. And it's just, there's too many people out there that would just rather go the opposite route just because the animal isn't meeting their standards. Meanwhile, y'all know me. Meanwhile, they got, 6 or 7 leopard geckos in a 30-gallon tank and 2 ball pythons. They think they Steve Irwin. So you gotta, I don't know, it's too much.
Well, again, I think that when it comes down to it, experience is the best teacher.
Definitely.
And until you experience certain things, you can't make a sound decision.
That's the
I
one.
know that a lot of things that I, thought that I might wanted to do after experience, I'm like, oh, maybe I don't want to do that. Like with the rats, I think it would be amazing to have way more production going on, but I can tell you out of all the tasks that I have with animals, it's cleaning the rats, and I'm like, damn, I gotta clean the rats today. It's the only time that I'm like, damn. And I think it's just because it's rats, like, I don't know. You gotta, first of all, keep them. I move my rats, so I literally take them out, put them somewhere else, and, like, that process, and then it's just time consuming because I like to play with them too. But it's just like, I think, oh yes, of course. Like rats was so much fun. Like I think that is like a pet that I wish I was introduced to as a child. But it's there where I come from. You bring a rat in the house, like somebody.
My man MJ, what's going on, man?
So good morning,
Popping
MJ.
in. Hey, I'm waiting on my Trap Talk invite, man. I'm waiting on it. But yeah, I think my experience with rats might be a little biased just because I've been bit by so many when I worked at the pet store.
Been bit. That's another thing. I've never been by ASF or rat. You just mean to the animals. I talk to them. I am convinced.
Me to that, man. Come on now.
I am convinced. We was talking the other day with G from Sick With It because I finally got one of my Ultramels from myself. We got the Ultramel, so he had the clutch, and finally it comes out, and it's no females. It's only males, and so, but my Ultramels only come from him. They will only come from him. I love his Ultramel, so I got the Ultramel from him the other day, and he told me, he said, "I'm telling you, Nicole,
facts.
You cannot trust no
facts. It's facts." And that can mean anything. We may or may not be talking about the animal. You know what I'm saying?
That's funny. I can trust my rats.
But it's crazy because me personally, I don't have good experiences with rats. However, I have friends who had pet rats, and I would hold them, and I'd never had an issue. So it's like I can deal with actual pet rats, but when you're just talking like random rats, you don't know where they come from, and and again, it's a pet store, so to their defense, you got random hands reaching in there to grab you out, and more than likely, I understand, but again, I don't mean I gotta like it. So therefore, yeah, nah. But like, hey, MJ said you can't trust no rat.
Okay, T, if you get to be Drizzy Dre, skirky, I want to be Nikki T.
Oh my God, you showing your age. Nikki T.
I want to be the N-I-K-I.
Nikki T. I'm changing your name on my phone to Nikki T. Nikki T. It's like, hey, Nikki T. It ain't gonna be sis no more.
Drizzy Dre
I'm
and Nikki
crying.
T for the
As long as you ain't doing no splits, we good.
Girl bust her. Oh, that's what it was. It was Justin. Justin, I was saying, I can't remember who we was having a conversation with. Yeah, and look, and that's exactly what happened. Justin said, and she's out chilling. Like she just out like.
What's he say?
Good morning.
Could you imagine even as a snake owner, we're used to, depending on what snakes you have, we're used to our snakes. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
you have retics, so you're used to big snakes. But I feel like every reptile keeper has that moment. They just waking up, still trying to get their head right, still trying to like wake up completely, and you come down or go into your reptile room and you just see that snake out
It's
or halfway,
gone.
your heart drops for a minute. Like for a split second, you forget you, the reptile keeper. You like, oh snap! Like it's crazy, and it's like this when you. It's the same feeling you get when you realize a snake is gone and you have to find it. But to walk down and see a 10, 12-foot snake just like slithering, you like, oh shit! Like that's for a split second, it's gonna scare you.
No, I think the first time, but this was one of the situations where, like, I don't even know, when T'Challa was younger and she got out and Michael comes downstairs and he's like, Mom, the snake is out. Like, and I'm like, what snake? Like, like none of them can get out. He was like, no, T'Challa is out. I'm like, where? She literally went from this room to the other room and was sitting on top. So the turtle tanks are here. So she could have gotten the turtle tank. So, because the first thing I'm thinking is, oh, she gonna go for a swim, she gonna eat the turtles. But she was sitting on top like one of these etages that we keep like all of the baby pictures. She knocked all of the baby pictures off and she's sitting up there just like that. And so
On her
we just
throne.
got her down. Yeah, just on her, like, it's so fun. And again, when people say they don't climb, that's the first thing they do. They find a place to go hide when they come out.
Man, listen, I had to actually. So the video I'm posting today, shout out to Bosa and Elias. I don't know if Elias joined today, but shout out to Bosa and Elias. We was talking blood pythons, and I basically was going over things people should know
Touch.
before they get one. And I told the story that just happened recently where Kato broke out. And so I was like, I owe everybody an apology because I lied. I was one of those firm believers that said blood pythons don't climb, and well, Kato proved me wrong. So it just goes to show you. But it's weird though because I put things in Kato's enclosure for him to climb on. He would just never use it. I would even put like his body over it, and Kato, so damn bougie, he would back up and go backwards and go how he wants under it. So it goes to show that they're very intelligent and they're gonna do what they want. And his preference is to always go under. But we see for a meal, his fat ass is gonna climb. So it's
I,
interesting because they're consistently teaching you about them, especially when we
exactly.
think we know. And this is when I tell people in my YouTube channel, I'm not an expert, I'm not a professional. I'm learning just as you are. I have a
And
I have, I
my
have more
animals might be different
experience.
from yours because for different
Exactly.
circumstances,
And
different
it was
reasons.
and I was actually excited to talk about it because I was proud. Like he taught me something that I was like, nah, they won't do that. Because everything you read in the research and everything that I was seeing from him, they never climbed.
Yeah, so that was the first thing, I laughed because I remember watching a video when you talked about they're not big climbers. So when you talked about him climbing, I
Yeah.
was like, yeah,
But I tell you what, after he ate them 2 rice, his fat ass wasn't going nowhere. He was sitting there. The crazy part is after he ate the two jumbos, the other two were just laying there dead. He was curled up in the water bowl, like, yo, appreciate it. Can't move, but it was good.
But
So I had to
we
like,
talked about this before too, Dre. And on the topic of what we're saying that what animals will and what not do. We talked about this briefly about the same thing with berms and retics being in grow tents, and I was like, absolutely not ever. Like even with tegus, like you have to put so many security
I
measures
say,
there.
when I first saw people doing it with tegus, I was like, whoa, what the heck? What are we doing? Like, I just didn't feel like it was something that was strong enough that, would hold a tegu. But I think definitely there needs to be some reinforcements made too, because a loose snake is way different than a
Different
loose
from
lizard.
right, and so that's the thing. So for me, there's no way, like, because I have my table. Each table is in
Yeah,
their in a grow tent, and they're big goat grow tents. I would say they're very efficient for them. I love grow tents for tables, but even with the tables, like the things, the alterations we had to make. was to
Hmm.
make sure that they couldn't use their claws or, get through walls.
Right.
They were small. Now that they bigger, less of a worry of any of that. But far as a snake, from a baby to an adult, there's so many ways that that thing can be breached. If it's set up properly for the snake. It the, Again, the thought of the berm, like with climbing. So, Groton has a lot of poles. Just think of how many times you see a berm or retic or even a boa go up high and kind of like get in
Right.
between something that.
And that's what I always wondered, because I have seen people who actually have boas and berms and grow tents, and it always made me wonder, what is the like structural element of a grow tent? Like, is it like PVC that holds it up? Because it
That's
always made
right,
me wonder, like,
Hutch.
if a snake is too big and they try to climb, up it, is the tent gonna fall over, or like how does that work?
So that's the thing. With snakes, I would assume like with the tables, it's so much bottom weight because they got so much concrete and so much
Hmm.
substrate. Like it's inches and inches and inches because I'm always piling on too of substrate. So it's weight heavy for the tables. So that would be
Hmm.
hard for a table to do. But for a berm or a retic, easy. Easy. Like even if they can just find one breach, at the top or at the bottom. Because even with the tables, I have a tarp that's like on top of the bottom of the tent, just so
Hmm.
they could never like dig underneath and find a way to get out at
So
the bottom.
so
But
prior to making, like, upgrades and making sure, you know, they can't get out. Like, let's say you buy a grow tent, you set it up.
mhm.
Before you put the substrate or anything in there, is there anything that would prevent a large snake from climbing to whatever, is in there for them
No,
to grasp onto and making the tent fall over?
no.
Yeah,
Like I
I
could
wouldn't
do
trust
that.
that.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
literally, because again, this is the tent. It is held together by the tension of the bars. Well,
Okay,
you know
okay,
how
okay.
quick the snakes can move tension. You know what I mean? You seen, I mean, my retics literally can take their, and they got those big mason tubs and move them from one side of the enclosure to the other.
Oh,
Move their
fact.
hides, you know what I'm saying? Like they'll rearrange. So if they can rearrange weighted, water is heavy. Like tubs with water in them,
Man,
those
listen,
holes is easy.
that's the one thing that I know is gonna piss me off, because it's pissing me off now. My carpet, that dude is the king. Like, I will give him a fresh bowl of water. I'll literally come back in two
Yeah,
hours and he got
Chris.
it knocked over. I'm like, why are you like this? But yeah, I always wondered about the grow tents, because I never saw
I
them
have,
as like a number one, like a great option, at least for the animals that I had. Like, I don't have an animal that I feel like would go in a grow tent. And it's funny because, I've seen people argue like, oh, you keep your snakes in a rack. And I'm just like, but that's how I feel about the grow tents. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like everybody has something that they don't like, but if it works for you, it works for you. If you made, the proper adjustments to ensure your animal can't get out and your animal's thriving, works for you. But I don't, for me, there's no security in it. It would drive me crazy.
well, I mean, even again,
I'm talking snakes at least,
no,
not
even
lizards,
with the
snakes.
lizards, that's why the grow tents are, that's why the garage was redone. Like
Mhm.
literally, if you could get out of this tent, it has to be where you can't get out of this
The area,
garage. You know what I
right?
mean? Like, now sometimes we'll leave in the summertime. We might leave that door open because that door comes into the house. So if we do have that tents open, we like for them just to be able to come and go in and out. It's funny for me that they know to do that, and the fact that of course it gives them more space to go. But outside of that, we didn't want them to be able to get out the garage door any other kind of
Right,
way.
right,
So
right.
we
And
literally like have it where we like if you open it's the only one way to open that garage door, and only my husband and my son can even do it because I can't. But it's only one way to open it for that reason. It's hard. It's hard.
you got the
Yeah, Chris,
nickname
I tell you, rats to me is keeping snakes is
eight
one
four
thing. Keeping
three.
rats is something different.
I've always wondered that. I've never had an experience with the rotenants. I've looked at them, but I was just like, "Mm, I'm not. I'd rather just wait and go PVC."
Yeah. The like I said, I think that it works great for tables. It would have never worked for the water monitor though, because again, he climbs the wall literally. So you know, like
those those claws, man.
Exactly.
And tegus are a big lizard, but Asian
It's
waters are
different.
massive.
It's different, and the claws are different. Like the tegu claws are much shorter. Like
and they like to climb.
Yeah, like if you watch him literally, like when you watching the water monitor, other than times you're not in, and you wonder what he's doing. A lot of times, that's kind of the games he's playing with himself. Like you see him running across this side, and he on the wall, and running down the wall. Like he's doing stuff like
and
that.
I look at your content, and I remember watching your Asian water monitor video. It was one of your older ones. I think it was like right after your husband got the cage built and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like looking at him like lay there, and I was like, that is a big fucking lizard, bro. Like,
and
could you imagine?
Way back then.
Could you imagine being a novice keeper, getting this lizard, growing him out to be, huge, and you trust a growth scent to put him in? No way.
I mean, even now, like Larry, if we didn't have, I always wonder, like, if we didn't have a relationship we have, like how big he is now. Like he literally takes up almost, and we know that it goes 10 feet this way. He takes up literally almost over half of that 10-foot.
Because at that point, that's a grown man. Like,
and even like he's and water monitors can be moody too. So they Larry would never be moody to the point where he like actually tries to cause harm or something like that. But if he don't want to be messed with, and he'll do that whole like alligator move the tail thing, and he'll walk to the other side and look like I don't want to be bothered today. That would be intimidating. Now for me, because we know each other, like I still would go over there and be like, come in. And then, he'll give me his little chin and stuff like that. But they are really huge. And I told every time that I go in there, I tell my husband, when I think he can't get any bigger, like it's just like he has this growth spurt and he's even bigger. And then you don't see their teeth a lot unless you're looking at like some model of an Asian water monitor.
Mm-hmm.
So one day, like Larry literally it was like a yarn, I guess, and you could, for the first time I could see his teeth, and I'm like I didn't know you had that in there.
Now I want to say that is probably one of my favorite things to watch. I've seen my snakes, yawn a million times, but when a lizard does it, it looks very prehistoric. Like especially a lizard that big, and you can see just everything, because you don't see the inside of a monitor's mouth much unless you're feeding them. But when they actually go to yawn, and you see, like, God damn, I'm
you see, with this, right?
You see why it's so easy for them to just swallow, and they just man, I could feed monitors all day. Like if that was my job to feed monitors all day, pay me.
Well, you should have seen my husband. I was giving him like these larger like chicks one day. They was pretty big, and my husband's like, "You not gonna cut them up?" I'm like, "For a monitor." I'm like, Larry about to take this to the head.
Them chips, right? Because at that and that's another reason why I like feeding the caveman, because she's now to the size where like I can hear her jaws like connect when she bites down. So like I'll feed her like a mouse or something, and she'll grab it from the side, and you just hear like her jaws just go. And I'm just like, it's interesting. And I'm just like, boy, if that was my hand or whatever, like, bro, like, and she has so much more growing to do. So the crazy part is they get water monitor size. It's nuts.
But his mouth is always open. Like he never closes his mouth. Never, ever, ever. It's always.
And yeah, anytime I pick her up, yeah, most definitely, because I don't handle her the most. Which I've been trying to do more of, but smooth fronts just aren't as easy to tame as the Cuviers, which is the more popular one, because they're smaller, and those are the ones that most people have. But yeah, I mean, it come with the territory. It don't bother me at this point. I just kind of respect it. I respect for what she is, and we keep it moving. We going move accordingly, because the bigger I'm referring to her as a she just because she's looking like a woman. You know what I'm saying? She's looking like, well, not a woman because she looked like female, but I'm not about to stick my hand up there though. That's weird. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna figure it out. But her head's just a lot smaller than most males, and she seems to be a lot smaller, which is probably why she's growing so slow. Because males are so, which would be good for me because then that means she won't get as huge, and she'll still get big. But um, yeah, lizards, well, monitors, because the Gila monster. Well, I don't know if you saw the reel that I posted the other day of me feeding DMX my beaded lizard, and I think for the first time, people got to see how psycho he was. So I put the mouse in there, and like, dude felt the mouse right here, and he just went to, and I'm just like, bro, calm down. So I had to get my tongs out of his mouth. I'm like, bro, you are doing entirely too much. But to
Yeah,
an
monitors are too
overzealous
intelligent.
lizard, an overzealous lizard scares me more than an overzealous snake because
I
a, a,
agree.
a
I
snake
agree.
a snake when they come out to like eat, they can only strike out so far before they reset. A lizard, they coming out crawling. My beaded lizard
And
literally.
they got two weapons. Like they
Listen,
got the mouth, they got those damn claws.
let me tell you a story. So a couple weeks ago, I ain't tell you this because he was gonna talk shit, but I'm gonna tell you for the podcast. So a couple weeks ago, I'm feeding the beaded lizard, right? And he's beaded lizard. He's only like maybe like 10 inches. He's in like a 3 foot exoteric, and he's about to get upgraded to the Cayman's old enclosure because Cayman's getting upgraded. So I'm feeding him. So with those exoterics, there's like a little wall, a little substrate barrier, and he's coming out. He eats the pink, the fuzzy quicker than I thought. He starts coming out of the enclosure, and he jumps out, Nicole. I didn't have on no glove, no nothing. I had to catch my beaded lizard and hope that he didn't bite me. Luckily, he did not bite me because that would have been bad. Because I almost got. But I didn't want him to hit the floor. I did not want him to hit the floor. Scariest moment of my life, I'm not gonna lie.
Yep. Yes, Maki. Anything that's large, I like to give them the house's space. And the backyard. Like in the summertime, that's when you see like the lizards more outside in the backyard. Um, my only, even with that though, I walk the tables. I can let run without a harness because they won't like take off and go up a tree. I'm not sure if the water monitor wouldn't if something spook him, so he's still harnessed even if I'm in the backyard until I'm comfortable enough to walk with him like Eric does, just be like, come on to the water monitor. And it just walks down the street. I don't know if Larry there yet. Larry might get spooked and take off, and
you know
I
that
can't be swimming through oceans and there's a lot of water around here to try to find Larry.
the thing that I like about big monitors when they walk, they walk like they got swag. That they twist their whole body. Like I can watch them walk all day. I love it. I enjoy it.
Um,
Funny.
Yeah, so today is Mom Juice Monday. If y'all don't watch Celtic Bowls, definitely check out their podcast. Mom Juice Mondays is one of my favorite ones because her and Angie cracks me up, and you never know what shenanigans they're going to have on there. But it's a fun podcast. Just listen to Angie laugh if you're having a depressing day is a great reason to check into the show.
Hearing it in person at Tinley is pretty funny too.
Yes, they are really funny. Um, yeah, so he was saying that you can line the walls with bamboo, some bigger lizards. Yeah, I've seen that too. I can tell you with my tables though, that bamboo is coming down. Like I remember putting a bunch of trees with those great big old bamboo branches and stuff like that in for them. That thing became something they just turn over and kind of like link together, and they make it like a little thing to walk across. That's another thing, like watching what your animals do is like part of owning animals is like just watching what they do and notice like even a little slightest changes how like Dre was saying earlier can make a change in their whole personalities and stuff like that. Like that's to me is the joy of the keeping side and the breeding side. Like my breeding animals are treated just like my pets are, except for they're not exposed to being out as long. But when I take them out, I still have those conversations and whatever I do with my other animals with them. I give them massages, as some people know. I like to massage my snakes and different things that, like, I don't know if the snake likes it or not. No one has ever told me that, these massages are dope. It is fine that it makes them very comfortable. So I'm assuming that there's some association that's not negative because they're not striking or trying to get away. That tells me they're enjoying it or they like it. Like with monitors. Everybody who owns any type of monitor, if you rub them here, that calms them down. Well, most lizards, like, it literally does something to them. I know my Asian water monitor start rolling his eyes in the back of his head, everything, when you start rubbing them here. And if you stop, it's like bring your hand, like, what? Why are you stopping? And if you do this, for whatever reason, it just does something for them. Like, it calms them down. That's actually the best way to, I think, engage with them, is going underneath of their chin and just start tickling underneath of their chin. For two reasons. With Asian water monitors don't bite down like that, but that's one reason. But another reason, you see a reaction from them that's different.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that with the caiman and the beaded lizard.
I think you can do that with the beaded lizards.
I was joking. I'm not.
The caiman. Well, I don't know. Let's see. Look
So,
on the video. Maybe there is.
I'm only saying that because of their particular personalities. Let me pull up this video for you so you can see, because so what happens is,
I'm like, I didn't say nothing about no damn caiman. I just want to make that clear. I said with Asian water monsters.
Man, look, I'm gonna get on there like Nicole told me to do it.
Right, exactly. Lost the finger. But I'm wondering, try it one day, Dre, with a glove. I wonder if it will work. Like, take your hand and go under and just start doing that.
The reason I can't with the beaded is because he honestly is just like the caiman. Anything on his head, he's so reactive. So if I go under here, he's gonna jerk his head back, move, and then swing to this way and try to bite.
It just seems so sweet. I use a glove, the caiman.
But I'll be ready with him, man. That boy, but the Gila monster is honestly. I had somebody on TikTok ask me how was it like owning a Gila monster, and I basically described it like it's like having a slow-moving monitor with nails, but he's super laid back. You just gotta he come a little extra, so you gotta make sure you don't put your hands in front of his face. Because the Gila monster's cool, but if you put anything in front of his face, his mouth is gonna open. Like, you would love ODB, Nicole, because.
Well, I'm like, even when you're feeding him, so like even though he may be what he is, he actually, like, I think he was eating very gentle when I saw you feed him and things very like gentle. That. Like I said, I think out of all of your animals, the only one that really intimidates me, and that's not, is the anaconda. Yeah, I think, like, I would be curious. And again, with the anaconda, it's just that, kind of like what she was talking about. It's just the stigma, and one thing about their stigma, I found few that hasn't proven that at least that first couple of years they just going to randomly be doing biting,
and that's what it is. And the one thing I can say is I learned so much about her, because no matter what, I'm to the point now where if she does bite me, I'm not putting her back. But also, I know with her, just like any snake. But she's that snake. Anytime you startle her, she is going to bite you. And like I said, the last bite, that particular day, she was squeezing my hand so tight, my daggone arm had an arm spasm. So her face was right on the muscle, and when it spasmed, she bit it. And I'm just like, I mean, it is what it is. So we're still working with her. She's a progress. She's definitely a work in progress. She'll never, I don't care how tame I get her, she will never be an animal that I'm okay with just people holding randomly. But she'll definitely be an animal that, I'll be, able to interact with and have fun with and everything like that. And I'll show her off to people, but as far as other people handling her, she's going to be one of those animals that I'm going to treat her like my green tree python and my emerald. Nobody gets to touch them but me. And it's fun though, because like I said, it's funny how the snakes that bite the most, it's like kind of like people. You always got these defensive people. They're so defensive because they're so fragile. So you gotta handle them a certain way. You gotta deal with them a certain way. and that's J-Lo. But it it's kind of weird that you're more like you fear her more than you fear the caveman. That is crazy to me.
No, it's not, because I'm a lizard girl, I think, in my head. So it's not, I think, it's not that I would jump out. Like, say, if I saw an alligator, right? It's not like I'm going to jump in the water and try to
Well,
swim with the alligator.
I wouldn't think you would anyway.
No, I'm just saying, I'm using that as an example. But if I saw an alligator and an anaconda, and I had a choice to take on the alligator or the anaconda, because I'm so attracted to the alligator, I think it makes it's the attraction to the alligator that will make me want to engage more with the alligator. Like, if I'm gonna take my chances, I'm taking it here and not over here with the anaconda.
Well, listen,
so I
I
think
tell
it's like
you what.
those things we keep. I think that, I mean, when you think about the bigger snakes, the berms and the retics, like, for a lot of people, it's like, why? But it's because the passion that I have for them is really the why. And I think that I have no interest in owning the anaconda because I don't have a passion for the anaconda that,
Makes sense.
You know what I'm saying? I think it's less what can do more damage. I think that true, of course, the alligator probably has more fun if I lose this challenge than the anaconda.
Definitely.
but
I tell people all the time.
Because I'm so eager to engage with it that I would rather take my chances.
I think for you also with anacondas, it's that unpredictableness. Most pythons and boas will let you know that they're not in a good mood or they're about to bite. Whereas anacondas, they don't just strike out at you. They literally will be doing fine and boop,
right,
boop. Like, it's very unpredictable, and you honestly can't see them because they don't just cock back like a normal snake. They don't cock back and sit still. They literally will act fine, and then boom, it's a wrap. So I think that bothers a lot of people, and her being a yellow, and then a lot of people are just like, I don't trust their face. It's like
it's not the cutest snake.
And it's funny because they're in the boa family, but it's like if you take like a sand boa and mesh it with like a normal boa, it's like, what is that?
What is that? It's one of two ways. Like, the face is really, really ugly or really cute. Like, people would see it in different ways. I just think that it's amazing to have, especially when people like who have those big green ones, an animal that needs that level of a water source. Like, I think that would be cool. Like, if you could like literally have like a great big old closure in your house, and because you can't have a lot of anacondas for sure. Because at some point, I'm talking about the green ones anyway, they need a big water, a big water space, like need it. So, but to see someone have it, that's pretty dope.
For sure. It's always interesting.
What's your come has a nice anaconda setup. The basketball, Dwight Howard. Well, he has a bunch of big snakes, but I think his anaconda setup is his anaconda setup is one of the nicest.
Yeah, Dwight Howard's not the smartest when it comes to his snakes, so we're not going to use that as an example because I watched he was doing some type of like interview where he was showing off his snake room, and dude didn't know shit about half the snakes that he had.
It might have been like one of those either those tank things that where they
it wasn't
tank.
It wasn't tanked. It was like an actual interview where he let somebody come in and view like his like he had an actual reptile room, and he didn't know shit about his snakes. And I'm glad he got money. You could tell he hired people to care for them.
I was getting ready to say, that's what I took out of it. Like, he likes them, he engaged, but he's not with them as much. But definitely someone takes care of them.
You can tell it's one of those things where it's like, I got them because I have the money for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because
except for it was like a couple boas that they have some nice boas too. That he really like showed interest in. But I would say definitely with I think he had a couple retics too, with some of the larger snakes. I mean, he had almost admitted when I saw it that he doesn't, get a chance to handle them much because he's not there much. But clearly, someone takes care of him.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the the enclosure that Tank did for him was dope. But yeah, there was I was just watching it, and I was just like, my boy, the platform you are right now, and the misinformation you are spewing right now is gonna set us back because we fight so hard to correct the things that you're saying, and you talking about your red tail boa is gonna max out at 6 foot. I got a problem, bro. No, it's not. It's gonna get bigger than
If
that.
they're one of the bigger, I was like, well, they're actually one of the bigger
And
ones.
it was a true red tail. That was the problem. Listen, people, Google is free. I know Google ain't always right, but it's a start.
I mean, you can start with there are other than ball pythons, very few pythons that doesn't get or boas that get less than 5 feet. Once you get out of the basic ball pythons, or if you get out the basic sand boas, everything above that, like, may not get as, like all boas are not going to most boas won't ever see 12, 14 feet, but majority of them will definitely see 10, at least. And I still say to this day, and I'll say it over and over again, people, a 10-foot boa is stronger, or I would say uses its power greater than a 14-foot retic. So don't get caught up in that how long it is type of thing. Boas don't, like, when they literally grab onto something, like, it's hell getting them off. Like, and then they so strategic. So if you get the back part of them off, they'll hook that front to something else. And
listen. Trying to record with any of my boas, I got my light, I got my camera tripod. Nobody is worse than Luther and Khalifa. I'll be ready to fight both snakes because I got so many bloopers that I have to cut out because they be like Khalifa broke one of my daggone temp guns yesterday because he knocked it on the floor. I'm like, bro. He knocked it on the floor, broke in half, one of the wires ripped. I'm like, bro, this snake costing me money. Luther is even crazier just because, like you said, that it's heavy body. And man, I'll be like, bro, you
they
tripping.
Use the muscle. Like,
and when
for
they
me,
strike,
retics are not always trying to use their muscle. Like, they can be out, just laid out, until they determine about something. Boas are always using their muscles. Go get a boa off the enclosure right now. They're using the muscles as soon as you lift them up. Like,
when a boa strike, they bringing that shit from back here. A boa strikes from the tail because they use all of the muscle. Like, and it's funny because, like, when I feed my snakes, I remove the hide just so they can not have anything that's obstructing them coiling the rat or anything like that. So when it comes to Luther, when he strikes, his body, like, if you look at the back of his body, it literally jumps up like 2 inches or so because he didn't use so much muscle trying to get that rat. I'm like, bro, it ain't going nowhere. God damn. But and they're precise too. They are accurate. They are accurate.
Yeah, I will say that over and over again. Like, when people say, I'll start off with boa, because a retic is going to get much bigger. You definitely would need more space at the end of the day. But if you're talking about which one is going to power you down, I struggle with getting my boas out anytime compared, if they're not where I want them to be. Like, my boas are not just coming out. So, hey, pick up this first part of my body. They're not doing that. My retics will. The boas, literally, from the moment I pick them up, they're holding on. I think they have like a great fear falling, so they hold on really, really good. And if I have them on the floor, if they hook onto something, it's just like, oh, here we go.
Right.
Or if they get on the blinds, anything, it's like, it's hard to get them off.
They will wrap themselves up in some fucking cords. Yep. They're going to grab it. And I'll be like, bro, like, I'm telling, like, you got to put them in a room with nothing. Because, man.
Exactly. All right. So we are hour in, a little over hour in. So again, Dre and I invite you guys to give us topics for next week. So as I go over a couple things for the next few minutes, if anybody got a topic they want to drop down for us to consider, drop it in the chat right now. And we'll choose a topic between now and we got to do better. Between now and Friday. That'd be me. I'm not going to put that on Dre. Dre has gave me a topic, and I'm like, what's the topic again?
Bro, I was like, well, why don't we do that topic next week? And then, it's up to you. Cause you sure did have me over here stressed out. I was like, and when I seen the message, I was like, bro, this girl gonna stress me out, bro. Like, me playing too much.
I'm
And then,
telling you, so the funny thing is when I had my grandkids, like they literally, first of all, there's no joy like a grandchild. And so like they have all of my time and my attention, like even like being in the chats, like for watching all the podcasts and stuff is different because I've got the chat here. I got normally a book here, then I got the grandkids saying play Roblox, which I don't even know how to play it. So they got to teach me how to play it at the same time. It be
you
so much
shouldn't.
going on.
You shouldn't know how to play it. You know, it's not for you.
I'm just saying, like, he'd be like, look, Dre. He'd be like, hey, give me here, Pooh. Let me show you. I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Hey.
He'd be like, follow me. I don't know how. He'd be like, come here, let me show you. Let me show you how to follow me. So there's so much going on. So literally, Dre Ben gave me the topic, and I'm like, so now it's a quiet day, the kids chilling or whatever, and I go to ask Dre. He's like, girl, like, what happened to him? I'm like, you did say that. Like, I don't know. I couldn't keep up. I got a little break. Although the grandkids are already counting down, I'm already getting a phone call saying, we got 4 more days, 3 more days, 2 more days. So they'll be back Thursday. But I do want to make sure that I run this past everybody. So anybody who's interested in sponsoring Reptiles and Cocktails or this two piece in the podcast, I'm going to do a initial invitation in January, but for any of you guys who want to jump on that, just let us know. I will work out a package with you because I am going to start promoting the sponsorships now. I didn't do that for a long time, but I think we're at that place now where I should. So just let me know. You can hit me up in my Instagram DM. I barely look at unless you're Dre or somebody like that I talk to like all the time through Facebook Messenger. I don't look at Facebook Messenger that often. It takes me a couple days to look at that, but I'm more active from that perspective on Instagram because that's where a lot of the business is being done. Facebook is more for like my personal friendships type of thing. So please just hit me up on Instagram. Stay tuned for this week's Reptiles and Cocktails. It's Christmas Eve. I will be eggnogged and Hennessy for this one. I'll have Jim Jolly on for this particular podcast. And I'm planning, I'll talk to Dre. I think that I want to do something special for New Year's Eve. But I'll give more details to come on that. I want to do just let y'all know what I want to do. I want to kind of bring on different people that I interviewed throughout the year, kind of like a party, not an interview, just kind of like a party. And I want to go over my top 12 interviews for this. So for January, February, March, April, May, I'm gonna pick my top 12 interviews and hopefully just share with you guys what did I like the most about each one of those that I pick out, and shout those people out, whoever that person is. And then I want to share who YouTube said was my top 3 interviews for the year. So more to come on that. Definitely want to do that. Again, like if you want to do the sponsorship, I can send you the formal invitation to do so. We can talk about packages. It's going to cost you. It won't cost you a lot, but it will cost you.
May cost you a little. May cost you a lot. But it's going to cost you. Oh, real quick. I want everybody to know that our podcast is now officially on Spotify. I'm working on Apple Podcasts. I don't know if anybody uses it, but I'd rather have it out there, and that way people have access to it. I'll be posting the links. I'm gonna send them to Nicole so she can post the links as well. But I mean, obviously, if you want to watch live, you can still watch live on YouTube. But if you want to listen while you're at work or something, Spotify it up. You don't have to have your phone on or anything like that. You can just listen. So I'm still uploading episodes. I'm not uploading all of them because it takes too long. Right. But our last few episodes, I started at episode 12. So from 12 on up and through, continuing on, will be on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So we finally official.
Because
it took me a while to figure it out.
He mentioned it. I was like, that's your part. Like, I bailed out real fast.
It's actually pretty easy. It's pretty easy. I'll send you the links. I'll send you the link. But actually, I got to give a huge shout out to Mike from Herb Collectors because he's the one that walked me through it. He's the one
Okay.
that remember he put us in that group chat and even like told us about Anchor, and so I would appreciate him, help us trying to get to the next level as well. So big shout out to Mike. So yeah.
Oh, thank you, Gershon. Yeah, so I'm
Appreciate.
open to it now. I know for a long time I was closed to it. And let me tell you why. So I feel as though, so just so y'all know, if I'm going to sponsor somebody, I want my platform to be in a place where it's of value for them. And for me, it wasn't before 1,000 subscribers. And don't get me wrong, like if you do it before then, if you got that viewing, that's still good. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to feel like, okay, it's worth, your dollar is working for you because I'm promoting you this way. I'm using the platform to promote this way. And I just feel like it's at that point now, even from a private standpoint, the communications that I'm having now are different from before when it's in relation to the podcast. So I think that's part of taking it to the next level. I wanted to wait until the beginning of the year to send out the broader request for sponsorship. But for those of you, anybody's interested, or if you know someone's interested, if you know a breeder specifically who's trying to really promote themselves now, where in the crisis, not a crisis situation, have them hit me up. I can make something happen, even with the next few episodes or whatever. But whatever the case may be, you don't have to wait until January. I'm just not sending out the mass promotion. I will say now there are people who are interested. So for those of you who are definitely want to do some type of package, let me know. So we can get you booked and make you priority first. And then we'll start to filter in the other people. And you can pick which podcast. You can pick Reptiles and Cocktails. You can pick Two Peas in a Pod. You can pick both of them. We can work. It's different ways that we can work things out. So I appreciate all the love and support. And I want to take that opportunity to just say I'm grateful for everyone who's been so supportive to me this year. This has been when I look back at my analytics, a very powerful year. Of course, all the usual suspects. Dre just being my partner in this particular podcast. But again, not just this podcast, like we talk about everything. So just really having a true partner in this, because it's, you guys see my husband ain't doing a whole lot of social media. That ain't his thing. For all of you who send him Instagram requests and he don't know who you are, he's not going to ever accept them. So please, if you're going to send a request, you might want to tell him who you are, because sometimes he comes to me and I'll be like, I don't know, or that's so and so. But he's just not a big social. I'm very social. He's not. So to have somebody who definitely, will partner with me on this level, such as Dre has, someone that we both respect, and I give credit for all the growth that we have. I just appreciate everybody. I appreciate everybody who come in on a Monday morning before you go to work, or just
Appreciate all
waking up
y'all
on a Monday morning, whether you at work or not. Like this is a podcast that we just kicked off not too long ago, and it's one of my favorite ones to rewatch. I mean, I think we're funny as hell sometimes. Like sometimes I'll go back and just play back certain things, and now I love how you can still see the chat when you watching the replays now and stuff like that. So it's absolutely hysterical sometimes, but just like it makes your morning, it makes our morning,
definitely, because I struggle to get my ass up for work on time, and here I am getting up at 7 a.m. Like we ain't missed the podcast. We have not missed the podcast.
Yo, Maki.
So
any doesn't have to be breeder specific. I'm sorry, Dre. Any
no,
advertising doesn't have to be breeder specific. And I'm gonna give you an example. There's anyone who's in the veterinarian field. These are perfect podcasts to promote your vet services, or your the person practice you work at, or if you have a pet store or anything like that. But it can also be if you just want to promote your crafty business, whatever. I mean, it's whoever. I just know that for purposes of who's watching, if you're going to spend your dollar with me, I want to make sure that it's something that you can benefit of. So yes, if you think it's somewhere it would tie into the audience, like Vaughn, for example, she does carpets, she does something for reptile people. That gives you a good platform to get that message out there, and I will make sure that the advertising is definitely worth it. So But that's it. Let me go through the comments before we leave. Thank you, Rock.
Make sure.
Love you, Kai. Definitely guys, just check out Kai Lucas Landon. And not just because he makes amazing reptiles. Kai, you are probably one of just the kindest people. You and Chris, and I just think it's certain people in the community who are just what you call silent supporters, no agenda. And I just appreciate everything that you do. And he makes some amazing animals. And he knows his stuff.
His rack videos on YouTube helped me out tremendously. That's how I was able to build mine, because he went in depth. I didn't go as in depth, but I was able to grasp what he was doing. And I mean, mine are janky compared to his, but his rack videos definitely helped me out. And follow me and Nicole on our other socials. You know, Nicole on YouTube, Lady Tiz, Nicole on Instagram, Lady Tigs, me, DW Exotics. January 31st, I'm rebranding. Name will be changing to something else, but as of right now, DW Exotics is still in effect. So YouTube, Instagram, TikTok as well. So hit us up.
Mike, don't sleep, Mike. Mike be up all day and night, it seems like. Mike, I hope you get some rest today. Yes, thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. And then, all right, so we got Mom Juice Monday tonight. Gershon is going to be on there. If you guys don't watch Health Bowls, Mom Juice Monday, you are missing out. It's even if you can just watch a piece of it, it's hysterical. Then we have Tuesday. What's happening on Tuesday? Nothing on Tuesday that I can think of at the top of my head. But Wednesday, we have at 8 p.m. Balls and Things, Keys Constrictors, the Bro, and shout out to Keys. Keys been doing an amazing job on some amazing sponsorships and growing the channel. We almost, I think, 2,000. So if you haven't already subscribed to Keys Constrictors, which I can't imagine anybody here is not, might be one or two, please make sure that you have subscribed there.
Keys is everywhere.
Yeah. Then we have Thursday, Mike Herb Collectors at 8 p.m. If you want some smooth jazz and a reptile, like Michael, just keep it smooth.
Hey, Mike is smooth, dude.
Smooth. If you want to get smooth with it, choose Mike at Thursday night on Herb Collectors, and then Friday 7 p.m. the party. Whether you're in the chat or whether you're on the screen, is a welcoming set. So please reach out to Keys if you're interested in ever joining. Again, we're the usual suspects will step down in a heartbeat, so we can see some new faces with some new creation. So bring the snakes, because that's the fun part. But that ain't my part. You gotta reach out to the man Keys and Keisha of Keys Constrictors, if that's something you're interested in. And then we are here Saturday at 1 p.m. Christmas Eve 1 p.m. With Jim Jolly, which is going to be a really, really good one. And Jim has a really good personal story to tell, especially when it ties into how reptiles save our lives and things like that. And some of his great plans, like Jim is like literally building a house and has been working on that for a year or so in Indonesia, which is one of his places where, of course, retails come from, and a place where he always says is better than America. So we're going to see and talk about that.
I'm gonna definitely check that one out. Although I'm kind of sad you wait when I'm not on to drink Hennessy. You know what I'm saying? I'm hurt, but it's okay.
But reptiles and cocktails is the drinking.
You didn't drink on my podcast.
Where was then I must have had a reason I couldn't. Like I must have just had surgery or something like that.
Yeah,
or,
probably.
No,
or you're just being lame.
If it was in June, then it might have been I wasn't drinking because I don't. So that's the thing. I don't drink a lot. So when I do, it's normally. So
why would you name your podcast Reptiles and Podcast? You know what?
Cocktails do not have to be. So yes, I might have wine in the beginning. And I love the sound of reptiles and cocktails. And initially, when I started, I probably drank on Saturdays, but then life changes things and things happen where I got to listen to my body and I don't drink as much as I used to. But I do drink on something, but it's normally an occasion. It's like
I know.
I didn't drink on my birthday.
I didn't drink on my birthday. I
Oh
seen you drink
yeah.
it.
So yeah, Tilly, I'm going to be drunk from the plane until I get back on the plane. That's just the rules of Tilly. That's a given. That's a given. So I gotta save all those other Saturdays for the times that I'm drunk every day and our night and day in Tilly.
I hear you.
But yeah, so I will, and if like I said, if we do other things, I'll special occasions I drink. Alcohol is
Well,
a lot on the body when you get older.
I keep liquor in the house, so just I'm always
Yeah, Dre, you are also 20 something.
I'm 30.
30. Okay, so you're 30.
Yes.
I got 20 years on that 30. When you get 10 years from now, you're gonna say, damn, Nicole told me that alcohol.
Listen. It is not my fault. Your mama was doing that
thing. Fault that
thing.
my mama started doing it early. That
How
she was doing it before your mama knows.
How your sister doing?
You know what? Her message is she's out of Facebook jail. I can tell you that. And she was in Facebook jail. Right. Did you all smash the like button? If you didn't, make sure y'all do that before you leave. The homie Matt on Friday for GP. Oh, cool. Friday, Al Matt, I must have missed that one. So of course, I'll be glad when those times change. So Gershon is also on GP
Ebony
Stakes
Ivy
on
Reptiles,
Friday.
Yeah.
Okay, so that'll be a good one. So Ebony and Ivory. I'm looking forward to the time change because Gershon was one of my shows that I watched, and then the times are the same for a couple of those buckets that I need separation. So
I might have to hop back on. Both. I might have to hop back on GP's podcast so we can confuse people again.
It's still funny. Luke said he hasn't drank in 4 years. That's awesome. Say, I think come here having drinks after work, but sitting here drinking by myself and y'all ain't having no cocktails.
Exactly, bro. Exactly.
It's too
Close
early.
to my guy.
It's too early. Bosa did so amazing. If y'all didn't watch this episode of Trap Talk, I knew you was going to be amazing, though, Bosa. That was good energy. Yes. Alcohol hits different after 35 for sure. It ain't the same. I remember when we can literally drink, get drunk, and go to work in the same clothes we just partied in. Where this new generation, I don't know what would be wrong with them. They think they can drink and party and not work, but we would literally party and work.
They're doing more than drinking.
Right. But that's the problem. Maybe that's the problem. We look. One thing for sure, we was going to get out 40 hours in so we could party on the weekend.
This generation has normalized popping perks and Xannies. Like, no, that's you okay with being a crackhead? No. It's
going to solely take away your motivation.
I don't even like taking ibuprofen when I got a headache. I try to sleep it off first.
But yeah, so all right, so we're gonna wrap this up. Again, we appreciate you all. Everybody have a happy Monday. I know a lot of people
have a Merry Christmas as well.
So Merry Christmas, but don't stress yourself out over Christmas. Christmas is not about buying gifts. So if you don't have the money, this is something I used to say all the time to people when they was renting apartments. When I was in property management, your kids will much prefer a roof over their head than a gift under a tree. A gift under a tree outside is not a gift. So don't stress yourself out, putting yourself in debt at a time like this. You know, the thing about Christmas is find the people that you love and spend the time with them. And gifts don't have to have nothing to do with it. Just the gift of life right now is important to us in this world. We should be grateful to find 10 people to sit at the dining room table who made it through this year, who are not miserable or sad on that day. Or if there's someone who is miserable or sad on the day, that we can bring them amongst the 10 people at the table and lift them up. That's what we want to do. And just have a good time. Enjoy each other. Right. I'm telling you that after 50 is approaching, take the roof away so they appreciate it more. Drink till 4 a.m., wake up at 5, hit the bar after work. Now I need 3 days to recover from a few glasses of wine. Yes, I'm telling you, tell them, y'all, it's different. It's different. It's funny. Not the same after a certain age, but again, we still want to enjoy life, however way that you do it. Anything that is done obsessively is not good for you. And that's anything. So, well, I'm gonna
unless
say
you're keeping
something. I'm
snakes.
a minus one thing, but most things.
Time to end this podcast. Because even that, you know what? That wouldn't be a bad way to go out.
Let me scratch that off the list.
She said,
Right.
check. Let's get off of here because Nicole got things to do.
Oh my God. I appreciate y'all. I'm going to make a trip to the post office and pick up my stuff today. Ken, if you in here, or Shane, I'm so sorry. But yeah, so with that being said, everybody have an amazing day. Peace.
Peace.